season in Montreal, rough to say the least. Flashes of promise at the start. It's Jeremiah Masoli at quarterback for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who has shown a lot more promise since taking over the Ticats offense in Labor Day.
For Jeremiah Masoli, he's had a terrific second half since taking over as the Hamilton Tiger Cats starter. He's looking to continue that and hopefully parlay it into a continued spot in that starting lineup.
Mark has a gain of 2. It's 2nd and 8. Masoli swings it out for Collins, one-on-one with Henderson, and Collins brought down at the 4, has a Ticat first down. It'll be 1st and goal from there.
Collins is going to line up in that slot and just head out quick flat. Long throw from just inside that short side hash, but also, as you see, a long way for Greg Henderson to chase, allowing time for that completion to happen. Collins, a guy who's been around into that halfback spot.
Beatty puts that ball into the end zone, and so there'll be no point in the play, and the Ticats will scrimmage at their 25. So there's Jeremiah Masoli making his 8th consecutive start at quarterback for the Ticats. Zach Collaros hasn't thrown a pass since August the 18th.
Yeah, the Ticats had that rough 0-8 start, made changes, the head coaching spot and starting quarterback position both at that point. Masoli taking over along with June Jones and posting a 4-3 record since that time.
On first down, set up for Brandon Banks. Banks has got blockers in front of him. A first down and more as Banks goes up the sidelines and goes out of bounds at the 47. A pickup of 22 yards.
Nice execution on the hitch screen, get it to Speedy B in space, but keep an eye on the center. Mike Filer, he's going to pull out of here and gets all the way around the horn to cut down a defender in space. Terrific block right there to take down the Owls' leading tackler as the starting quarterback.
Four-man rush. Masoli up and throwing, and that pass is caught. A great stab back to pick it up by Shamad Chambers, and that's another first down for the Ticats and a gain of 12.
Yeah, stab is exactly the word. This one had some zip on it. Chambers has to sort of come back across his own body, changing his momentum.
Has a kick return for a touchdown this year. Masoli stands in, throws that wide side out. Tasker's got it. And Tasker's got a first down up to midfield. A gain of 13 yards.
Luke Tasker is another one of those guys who took a little bit of time, but seems to have rediscovered his mojo here under June Jones.
AJ Moore. Masoli a pump fake, now room to run. Masoli a first down and more. Inside the 40, steps out of bounds at the 37-yard line, a gain of 19. And the dimension he brings to the football game.
Yeah, this is certainly an element added. The planned runs, planned quarterback draw there, as you saw the running back Alex Green looking to lead up on linebacker Kyrus Hebert.
Dan Yoakum, great names from the past. First down Ticats for the Montreal 50. The pass complete to Banks, and Brandon Banks gets down to the 36-yard line. A hard tackle there by Kyrus Hebert. Gain of 14.
Is often built around smaller, fast receivers.
First and 15 after the Hamilton penalty. Masoli throws, and the pass is caught by Collins. Second down, flags down. Masoli throws for Tasker, and Tasker.
They've been in Alouettes territory now, up against it again at 2nd and 16.
Masoli facing a four-man rush. Stands in, throws to the wide side. The catch is made. first down from the 35, and here's Tasker with the catch, and Luke Tasker a first down out to the 50.
Well, Tasker doing a nice job making some people miss after the catch. And you saw the Ticats working the crossing routes underneath, but recognizing zone coverage. Tasker doesn't just run through it, he sits down right in front of Masoli when he sees a soft spot.
Kyrie's a bear shaking up on that play. First down, Hamilton, just inside the 15. Now Masoli to the end zone, and it is caught. No, it is not. Jones thought he had it. Mike Jones said he came up with it. The ruling is no catch.
Well, we'll take a closer look right here. Mike Jones, the two receiver, pushing into the end zone. Bending it out, little stem inside to create leverage to get outside. He's got it. Now let's see if that...
And now they're going to challenge it.
Yeah, let's see if the knee is hitting the sideline as he comes down or if he's down first. I think he's in.
This would be Mike Jones' first CFL touchdown catch.
Hamilton is challenging that was a completed pass on the previous play. We'll review the play.
Oh, now, he may have trapped that football as he landed.
Okay, so foot down. You're good there.
Yeah, see, I think he's inbounds. He hasn't hit the sideline yet. Did he maintain possession the whole way?
So now a challenge by June Jones, who is 6 for 10 on the year. That's it for challenges for the two teams.
After review, the player caught the pass in the end zone. Touchdown.
So Mike Jones.
Yeah, if you wanted ever to make a case for how instant replay takes some of the emotion and spontaneity out of the game, this was it.
Was only the touchdown pass.
They were at Tim Hortons Field when the stadium first opened.
Second down, Masoli throws, banks the catch, a first down and out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Hebert is there, along with Campbell. A gain of 13 on the play.
They managed to connect Masoli and Brandon Banks on a couple of relative quick hitters. So you keep waiting for the fastest Ticat.
Second down, Masoli flush, stands in and throws, and the pass is caught by Shamad Chambers, and Chambers has a first down into the 48-yard line. Campbell once again there on the coverage. And that play comes at the end of the first half. Or did it? Yes, it did. The clock struck 0 just as the pass was cut. The Hamilton Ticats reel off 23 unanswered points and lead Montreal 26-7 as we reach halftime. And your host, Ron Smith.
Close to it. I was on a 4-14 team in Toronto one year.
Banks takes that pass and gets out to the 31-yard line. Masoli making his 8th straight start for the Ticats, taking over from Zach Calaros. And 7-1 away from home. 13 touchdowns, 6 picks.
Yeah, pretty impressive numbers on the road. A guy who seems to make that his comfort zone.
Alouettes averaging over 8 yards, or Ticats rather, averaging over 8 yards on first down this afternoon.
Well, that makes second down a whole lot easier when the other team isn't pinning their ears back and coming after you in obvious pass situations.
Now Masoli slings that out, and
people had kind of given up on Anthony Calvillo until Jim Popp brought him into Montreal in '98 as a backup.
Now Masoli slings that out. Collins makes the catch, and Junior Collins has a first down and more. Devon Campbell makes a stop after a gain of 20.
Masoli throws the Tiger Cats out of field position trouble here. Long went out to Mike Jones on the wide side. Excuse me, Junior Collins out on the wide side that time.
First down Ticats from their own 45-yard line. Hamilton in Ottawa next week. Ottawa still has something to play for. And they'll close out at home against Montreal. Masoli looking over the top for Banks. He's got a step and makes the catch. And Banks walks into the end zone as he beats Tavon Campbell for the touchdown.
Well, Brandon's big day continues.
Yeah. Had a step, lost a step, then had a step again. A 65-yard score.
You know, people talk about the strength of Jeremiah Masoli's arm. I think this is a guy who's underrated as a touch passer. Great adjustment to the ball. You talk about reading the flight as that battle continues between Brandon Banks and Tavon Campbell. You know, Banks giving up something in height, but still on a bit of a
Ticats, who now lead 32-7, and Banks is having himself a day. The CFL on TSN is back to Montreal.
And you know, part of the suggestion was in closing out games, you want your veteran quarterback in there, and so on. But it goes back even before that.
Now Masoli under pressure slides right in front of the on-rushing Nicholas Boulay, a gain of a couple.
You know, and then through to the end of his career as part 3.
Now Masoli under pressure just lobs that for Tasker. Luke Tasker has the first down, almost a basketball pass by Masoli there. And Tasker has the first down, a gain of 20.
And this is another example to me of the touch of Jeremiah Masoli. I think he does this so well in terms of sometimes putting different arcs on balls depending on what the situation is. There are times where you see him backpedaling because pressure's coming at him, and he'll like throw a high arcing ball because he knows the receiver hasn't looked yet. But by the time the ball gets there, the receiver will have time to turn around and find it. He does it very effectively.
Pawns on the table that you move around. There's great people, and we have fine players on our team. You mentioned one of them. If I start naming them, I'll leave somebody out, and I don't want to do that.
Now I have to say, Marv, I'm going to be honest with you here. As a guy who was living in Edmonton at the time in 1977, there is still some unhappiness about that Grey Cup game and the assistance of the Staples.
Well, I can understand that. I have, honestly, I'm not just copping out. I did not know it had happened. Tony Proudfoot had called in an electrician or somebody knowing what the field was like and thought, gee, I'll put Staples in, we get better footing. I know it's known as the Staple game or as the Ice Bowl game. I honestly would have preferred not doing it, but it gives you a chuckle when you think about it in your memory.
Shamad Chambers with the catch in a long game as he's pushed out of bounds by Greg Henderson. How has the game changed the most over the years that you've been around it?
Well, everything evolves over time, and you have to adjust. People find new things that happen. There's changes. When I first started coaching in college, there were 3 assistant coaches on the staff. Now there are 20 on the staff. That's changed. When I first started coaching, you had to play both ways, offense and defense. Now, of course, there's offensive and defensive players. One of the good things, I think, is become more and more apparent of how important the kicking game is. It's not relegated to a second-class category. So there's only some of the ways.
Swings it up for Green, who gets pushed out of bounds.
Give me yours! Give me yours!
Masoli goes around the right side, and a foot race down to the corner as Masoli puts his head down, gets brought down there by Michael Carter, but Jeremiah Masoli dashes outside, has the first down easily. First and goal now from the 4.
Well, everybody's anticipating it's going to come inside, but they also create misdirection with the running back Alex Green bolting to his left. That pulls one defender out, but everybody's kind of locked in, ready to pinch down to the inside, expecting quarterback sneak. Jeremiah Masoli takes advantage of that tendency, that cheating by the defense, and his own speed to get to the outside.
First down, here is Green. Touchdown, Alex Green. And the Ticats are pouring it on now. 42-7 with a point after to come.
Watch how this one opens up for Alex Green. Tight end formation to the right. They're also going to get a kick-out block. Watch the fullback CO Prime in motion. He gets the kick-out at the point of attack. And Alex Green is in standing.